Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, April 5th, 2018, and we're here in the County Council chambers, and I'm going to call this Homes Committee to order. Does anybody have a declaration of pecuniary interest? So we'll move to the action items, and 2A is the Gateway Haven Nurse Call and Patient Wander Guard System. And the report's there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report brings a recommendation that the Nurse Call and Patient Wander Guard System request for proposal be awarded to KR Communications Limited at a cost of $303,684, and that funding from the working capital of $378,000 be repaid over 10 years, be approved, and that the Health Services Department fund in their annual budget $38,000 within the Gateway facility operating budget beginning in 2019. In 2014, the Nurse Call system was in immediate need of repair. As the system continues to age, there are less replacement parts available. The absence of a Wander Guard system in Gateway Haven has prevented the admission of any potential residents who are deemed as exit seekers. In 2017, $31,704.
Sorry, Madam Chair, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Director Michael, could you put the report up onto the...
Sorry, ma'am.
That's okay.
Thank
It's
you.
just for the viewing public at home. Sorry.
Okay.
In 2017, $31,704 was spent in consulting fees to prepare the scope of work to proceed with the RFP. Cabling and wiring upgrades required for the installation also proceeded at a cost of $84,076. In December 2017, the Purchasing Division of Corporate Services Department, in conjunction with the Department of Health Services, issued a request for proposal to supply and install a nurse call system and patient wander guard system in Gateway Haven to be done by the end of 2018. RFPs were assessed on the responses to 156 individual requirements in 10 performance areas. The RFP incorporated a two-file process whereby the submissions must achieve a minimum score to be considered to open the financials. Proposals were received from KR Communications Limited and Media Multicom Communications. KR Communications Limited ranked highest in points and lowest in price. The new system will be configured to have different information presented at different alert through different alert devices, and depending on the device and display characteristics required. Calls can be transferred from one unit to another based on the coverage levels required or needed, and the required Ministry of Healthcare and Long-Term Care reports on call bell response times can be provided using this technology. These features will provide greater efficiencies and reliability to the current system while providing residents with a higher level of security and supervision. The contract also provides for 24/7 system servicing as required. For your consideration, ma'am.
So you have read the recommendation out for us already, so just a sec here. And does anybody have any questions or comments on the recommendation? Yes, Kelly.
Through you, Madam Chair, just to add a bit of additional information to Michael's report and for clarity, ideally, as the funding side is quite complicated, and it's complicated because this project started in 2012 was the origin of it, and the staff went to market, and we had to split the work apart to do the recabling in the home, and then the second stage is what's before you today. So the financing, the recabling was done in 2015. 1516, and this is the system to support that we'll be using that recabling. And then the only other comment is why the time lag from when we did the cabling to this initiative. It's twofold. One, when the cabling work was done, we received a complaint from a vendor about our procurement process. So we went back and we shut it down. We went back and redid it so that the concerns from the vendor were addressed and articulated. And then the second piece is, given the feedback from the market, we determined that we needed to have expertise through the organization of Sierra to come in and do consulting work to tell us exactly what we were trying to, what product would assist us in achieving what we were trying to achieve. And what's been presented to you, it does two things. It includes visual triggers on every floor so that individuals who are in the corridors can see visually when a resident is in distress, because there's going to be lighting over the doors. So when they call the nurse call bell, if they're not right close to the nurse call bell, they can visually see it and go to that location. So hopefully that helps with clarity, Madam Chair.
Mitch?
You'd have a surplus of 285,000 in Gateway. Is that something we could do to offset rather than go to the working capital?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is an option. If you wish, staff can return in May with a fulsome report with a different funding source. We would seek committee's support, though, in awarding the contract, and we would return for the financing side of it.
Does anybody else have a comment on that? Milt?
I would like to see, yeah.
Yes.
Second question though would be, what reserve do we have?
Through you, Madam Chair, the reserve is very, very small. It was utilized to fund the capital part of the project, or excuse me, I just said capital. The cabling part of the project absorbed the reserve in the home.
So I too think that's a good idea if you come back with a report. I think that'd be a good place for the surplus. If everybody concurs with that, can I just have a show of hands? Yes, okay.
If we could have a mover and a seconder.
You want an actual vote?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Could I have a mover and seconder that staff come back with a report regarding the surplus applied to that instead of another fund? Okay. Moved by David and seconded by Robert. All in favor?
Plus that was for awarding the contract as well?
Pardon?
That was for awarding the contract?
I was going to go back to the recommendation as amended, but that includes, okay, did you think you're voting on the recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just looking for concurrence and then was going to the recommendation and just add it there, but if we've already done it, that's fine too.
What I would recommend, Madam Chair, is that the recommendation that is presented in the report, that it simply be amended, so you have the resolution that you just passed asking staff to return with a follow-up financing report, so that my suggestion is to alter this recommendation and just remove the second paragraph.
Okay. Okay. So I need a mover and seconder for the recommendation as amended, removing the second paragraph. Moved by Mike and second by Mitch. Any further discussion? Paul?
So how does Bruce Lee Haven fare out that we won't need this type of system in Bruce Lee? Was it just the physical configuration of the hallways, or why? Like, this has been ongoing in Gateway for a long time. Quite frankly, I thought it was installed. And, I'm glad we're getting on with it, but why is this going to come, is this going to crop up in 2 or 3 years that we're going to need another 400,000 for Bruce Lee?
It's all right.
Madam Chair, in answer to that, if I might, the two parts, the WanderGuard system that does not exist in Gateway Haven does exist in Bruce Lee Haven. The spare parts that will come out of the system that we will dismantle in Gateway Haven will be used to sustain the Bruce Lee Haven system as long as we can.
Okay.
Well, down the road someday, we're going to have to upgrade Bruce Lee once.
When we're out of spare parts, sir, I would imagine, yes.
And it's nice to see that the spare parts are coming from the north to the south, because usually the north got the used parts of the spare parts before. Nice to see it's a bit of a reverse this time.
Yes, Dave?
Just out of curiosity, when I read this, I wondered why with today's technology, this couldn't all be done wirelessly and with Wi-Fi. But I guess, as Kelly said, maybe it doesn't provide enough information or cameras and that kind of thing. I'm not sure, but.
This system, Madam Chair, is a quantum leap from the older technology, which is phone-based, and staff would carry phones with them. This will now enunciate over rooms and in hallways and a number of other ways. Its exact connection, Madam Chair, to the web, I cannot speak to, but what I can speak to is that as a result of the consultant that we engaged, all of what we need is compatible to what is now being provided. So this will all work, and those 100 and some odd checks that we had were set up to make sure that everything that we needed to make sure that this new system gave us everything we can, everything from chair alarms to bed alarms to a number of other things intersecting. It is present, and staff were part of that interview by the consultants to make sure that we were getting that which we needed. We also toured another home with similar technology to make sure that we were getting all that we needed for today and the future.
So I just had one question. So the cabling was done, sorry, Robert, did you have a question too? Okay. So it was done previously, 2015, 16, and so have we already paid for that, I'm assuming, for the cabling part? And then this is the additional part, and then there was a bit of a problem aligning the system with the cabling. It's always to get your technologies to speak to each other, right?
Indeed, ma'am, and or Madam Chair, and we're now ready to install technology into cabling which will sustain it.
Okay, so any other comments? So it's been a long process, and that is the problem with technology. It changes in, 2 or 3 years, and that's always, what do you do? Okay. So we've amended the recommendation. We have a mover and seconder. Any further discussion? All in favor of the recommendation? Any opposed? And that carried. So next on the agenda is 2B, the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement, the LSAA, amending agreement for approval.
Madam Chair, this brings with it a recommendation that the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Amending Agreement between the Southwest Lynn and the Corporation County of Bruce Lee Haven Long-Term Care and Gateway Haven Long-Term Care be approved. The agreement represents the annual contract renewal document provided by the Southwest Lynn. The amendments associated with the current agreement have been provided in an attached document titled Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement 2018-2019. This document was reviewed, and all of the Bruce County information is correct. The background and summary of changes to the template and schedules in this agreement have been reviewed, and while these are not subject to negotiation, none prove or none pose a risk or major changes to the current operations and reporting processes currently used by the homes.
So this is, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. the CAO, upon your approval, would sign this agreement on behalf of the corporation.
So this is more or less an agreement that has to be renewed all the time with the LIN.
Correct.
And so we'll take, I need a mover and seconder, moved by Milt, second by Mitch. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this agreement? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carried. And so next is 2C, the Quality Improvement Plan, or QIP, for healthcare organizations in Ontario.
Madam Chair, this also is a recommendation that the County of Bruce Homes Committee Chair, CAO, and the Director of Health Services sign the required Healthcare Ontario Quality Improvement Plans for 2018-2019 presented by Gateway Haven and Bruce Lee Haven, confirming review and approval by the County Homes Committee. The Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care requires annually a specific quality improvement plan for each long-term care facility in Ontario. These QIPs include facility quality improvement goals for the following year and the plans projected to achieve these quality goals. The process is coordinated by Health Quality Ontario. Health Quality Ontario requires these QIPs to be reviewed and annually approved by the Homes Governing Board, namely the County of Bruce Homes Committee. The QIP narratives for both Bruce Lee Haven and Gateway Haven 2018-2019 documents were previously circulated.
All right, so the recommendation has been read, it's there. Could I have a mover and seconder for this recommendation? Moved by Milt, second by Robert. Does anybody have any comments on this? All right, all in favor? Opposed, none? That carried. And we're to our next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think it's April 5th. It's, maybe I've read this wrong, so it'll be May, right? Our next meeting will be May, whatever the date is. Pardon? May 3rd. Okay, 2018. And I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mitch, second by Mike. All in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you.